Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 1 minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Culling.
Oh.
I'm going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, so like you're getting dark here if you're going where I think you're going.
I said I was going to go a little dark. I mentioned this to you. The word comes from the Latin collegiae, which means to collect. The term can be applied broadly to mean sorting a collection into two groups, one that will be kept and one that will be rejected. The cull is the set of items rejected during the selection process. The culling process is repeated until the selected group is of a proper size and consistency desired. This is clearly something that is done. It's done in produce, in vegetables. Obviously, you go to the grocery store and you see the ones that look nice. The ones that didn't turn out so great of your cucumbers or tomatoes, those ended up in a can or for some other use. It happens in livestock. It happens in product development and in production. This is something that is necessary for all these things. Obviously, something that it doesn't work well with is humans, even though people have tried. So we understand that. Why would I bring this up?
Yeah.
Because there is a phrase uttered in this minute that I've never really considered where does it come from. And this is where it comes from. That phrase, of course, is thin out the herd or thinning of the herd. And for some reason, when I watched this minute, I thought about that and I went, well, who came up with that? Where does that come from? It is from this entire process that is important to civilization, not in the ways that it's sometimes used. Now, why did I go that dark route? I don't know. but I thought I always like to pull something out that is just unexpected.
Because here we are at minute 105 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by Mr. Jon Favreau. And we are picking up where we left off, which is in the middle of a huge explosion, because Tony has done this amazing maneuver where he was able to fly into the Unisphere and stop and then go out again. But the drones, not knowing that he was going to do this, have committed to the original flight plan and find themselves smacking into the back of Asia. So the entire Air Force drones are all wiped out in a huge firework-esque explosion in the Unisphere. It almost looks like pyrotechnics going off at the climax of a Disney show. And so then as he's going around, then Tony banks up and flies right past the camera like, nailed it. So meanwhile, we cut back to Hammer Industries. Natasha kicks open the door, and if you watch the behind-the-scenes stuff, you know that for whatever reason, this shot was really, really important to Jon Favreau. He wanted her coming in guns akimbo, and he had to do it over and over again until he got exactly the right angle and of where she's supposed to be pointing, how her arm should be up, how she should be doing this. It's also obviously because she had to kick the door because both her hands are full. And so, where did she get the guns? But I don't know.
Well, she had a holster. Well, no, she had a holster with one gun. I don't know if it was she had two guns, but no, you can see that when she's entering the building, that she clearly does have a gun with her. We never see on the right side, though. I don't think even in the action sequences.
Yeah.
She picked up a gun.
The next thing is I don't remember her having thinking of his holsters at all, but I guess I wasn't looking that closely. I was looking at the maneuvers. So the Happy's right behind her. She comes in and the room is empty. But we see on the sign on the door, it says 3082 and then 9. So what does that mean? Well, this means it's hazard level 9. And this is the UN certificate for environmentally hazardous substances, which usually means liquid nitrogen or adhesive vinyl. So that's what supposedly was behind this door, but it turns out it wasn't. So I don't know why it was that she was like, they don't have any liquid nitrogen here. It must be this. And then kick down that door and do it.
She had some electromagnetic pulse detector that pointed her to all wires going to this room.
Right. I mean, it must be in those wristbands that don't seem to do anything else.
Okay.
They're an Ivan detector.
Yes.
It zooms in on Russian biosignals. So as we do that, we do a quick shot from her POV, and we see the two guys hanging and everything, and no Ivan. And so Natasha says, he's gone. Well, Natasha says it, but I'm reasonably sure that Scarlett Johansson doesn't, because if you go back to minute 105 and play that is clearly not Scarlett Johansson saying he's gone. So it must have been one of those things where in editing, they needed that to like have that to convey, because there's a lot of times the overdubbing process is to like point out something on screen just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Like, Ivan's not one of the guys hanging from the ceiling, everybody. Like, he's gone. So they got a sound-alike to try and do it. And there have been more people doing Scarlett Johansson impressions since then. Must have been harder to find at the time, because this person does not sound like Scarlett Johansson at all.
You know, when you mentioned this off mic, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Once you really focus on it, it's absolutely not her voice. I mean, it's clear. It's somebody acting like they're breathing heavy, like as if they had just run down after a big fight.
Yep.
So they try to get all that in. And it's not like dubbed. You don't have to do any visual trickery, because when it's said, her face is not on screen. It's another angle of what's going on. But I got to tell you, like, okay, this is going to be weird. You know why I think they had to do this? I don't know if it's because they're trying to tell the audience this. I think it was just because there was dead space in terms of audio. Like, really, there's no music. It gets so super soft. She bangs open the door. She comes in, like you said, with that stance. You see clearly that Ivan's gone, because the empty chair, the soldiers are hanging there from the ceiling. The security guards, I mean. And I think, honestly, if you had taken that out, it was just too much dead air in terms of audible sound. So
true.
I think that's why that's there.
Okay.
And yes, maybe to give people a connection to this. Can I make one sort of problem with this?
Sure.
Is that the guy, well, I mean, everything on this is fine. And we get now the full shot of his workshop, his control center with all his monitors we've been seeing and all the cords and everything. Okay, so if he had hung those security guards to kill them, they wouldn't be hanging like that. They'd be hanging from their necks. They're not. It's like he killed them and said, "Hey, you know what? Just for giggles, I'm going to hang them from the ceiling."
That's exactly the point I was making when we first saw it. Like, they cut to him making the call. "Hey, Tony," like that call. They're hanging there. I was like, that clearly was done after the fact, like just for affectation.
Okay, now I have
just because he needed some decorations in the room,
and nothing more than dead humans.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm bringing it up now because this shot, we actually, in all its horror, we see their full bodies with their heads.
Yeah.
So before, remember we talked about this, they only shot it like from the shoulder down to give you that impression. Well, this one, you get to see the whole body. You can clearly see, no, they're not hung by their necks. Mm-mm. Like, they're hung by their torsos, right? Like, well, that's weird and disturbing. It's not like it wasn't already.
Yeah,
but.
Exactly. And speaking of like strangeness of it, so apparently he is also one of those programmers that likes to work in the dark, because everything we've seen, he's been just lit by the screens, but now they turn on and he's in a white room with all the lights turned on. But this is supposed to be the same room that he's been furiously typing for like the last 15 minutes, right?
Maybe that's to give him some camouflage in that if it's a dark room, you think he's hiding somewhere to get, you know what I mean? To like obscure you for a few extra seconds.
So
I don't know.
I guess, jumping ahead a couple of minutes, and literally a couple of minutes, at this point, he's in the suit rocketing his way to the expo, right?
Somewhere along that path. Correct.
Okay. Cause his suit can't fly that fast. So he has to be on the way.
Yeah, probably.
Because he's flying from, obviously, Hammer's base is Germany. He's not flying across country or whatever, but
he's somewhere getting to his suit. He's somewhere getting to his suit or in the suit. He's on the way for that. But no, this is when you mentioned the whole thing about that's not her voice. Yeah, I can't unhear that now.
Yeah, and so I know this scene, they did a lot of redo in this, and so I'm gonna talk about that as we go along. But so we cut back to Tony, and so Tony's basically like, "Oh, I took care of those drones, so go me." And then he's flying along. He says, he's talking to Rhodey, even though he doesn't know what Rhodey is. He said, "I'm sorry, buddy. Had to thin out the herd." And that came from "What's your 20?" which is obviously police code for "What's your location?" And so Rhodey, turns out, is flying right at him. So War Machine tackles Iron Man, and then they crash through a biodome. And as we go past, we see the giant Oracle logo. Product placement.
It's the Oracle biodome. Okay, so interesting thing about this.
Yeah.
If we go back, we kind of mentioned this, is that after the explosion of the Unisphere, right at the beginning of this minute, there's a different shot that we get of the expo, and you clearly see the Oracle biodome in the background.
Yeah. Setting up for the future.
No, it's really neat how I don't think we haven't noticed it. It hasn't been there because you have never seen this perspective of the expo.
Right.
It's funny how just a few seconds before they're introducing a visual element of a location that you're about to see. That's pretty sweet. I love, as we always talk about geography. I love that that's there. And even when you get this big sweeping movement of the expo, you see the explosion, you see the towers from Men in Black, you see the main stage, and you clearly now see the Oracle biodome in the distance. So I like how that's all done.
But the big question is, if Oracle is all about servers and data storage, why do they have a Japanese garden? And the answer is, it's kind of an in-joke. Larry Ellison is a huge Japanese culture nerd. And so they wanted to have this fight sort of in this, like, in the garden kind of thing. They kind of thought, like, oh, here, like, that'd be kind of funny if we did that. And so, like, they apparently did not tell him. And this was sort of like their, like, wink and nod to that. So the inside garden is actually it's a set, but it's actually based on the Huntington Library and Gardens, which is in San Marino, California. I would recommend visiting it and see if you can see what the homage is, if it's open and you're allowed to gather in public, because who knows what the world is like as you're listening to this. I hope everyone here is healthy.
Absolutely. Wait, so how many extra zeros do you think that Oracle's check got when they said, hey, by the way, we're gonna give you an homage in this major set, the ultimate set piece of the movie, we could say. He must have been very happy.
Well, so much of our lives is about keeping billionaires happy.
Okay. One thing we got to mention, we could not figure this out. Yeah. The shot directly before Rhodey gets him from behind and they crash into the pavilion. They pass what literally I cannot explain as anything other than Elsa's castle from Frozen.
We never see that in any of the shots before, but it's like apparently Arendelle has a pavilion here at the Stark Expo.
Very much. I don't know what that is. If somebody wants, we haven't been able to see what that is.
We probably shouldn't spend too much time on this. I mean, Rob, just let it go. So we cut back to Hammer headquarters, and Natasha is there. She's putting her guns she puts her guns down and she starts furiously typing. So Happy says, "What are you doing?" And Natasha says, "I'm rebooting Rhodey's suit." Okay, so this is the reshoot part. So originally in when they shot this sequence, the premise was going to be Tony was going to manually reboot the suit, but he was going to have a spike and drive it into War Machine and do it a la RoboCop. They actually, in the commentary, they talk a lot about RoboCop and how they wanted to try and steer away from RoboCop, because RoboCop, obviously, and then RoboCop 2 especially, is two guys in metal suits clanking around and fighting. And so they were trying to, like, avoid that. So the original idea was that Tony was going to do it, and then they thought, oh, well, we already have Natasha here. She does not find the thing. Let's have her involved in the action and not have that be just a giant wild goose chase, because really right now it should be, oh, well, I really did need to fight all those guys because there's no reason I needed to be here. But when they have her go in and actually like hack the thing, and it actually makes a beautiful kind of sense because she's Russian. So of course she can, like, whatever he has, and she's obviously a spy, and she's good with computers, that she can actually go through and any stuff he has encoded, she can actually hack through and do it. So she's the one that goes through and goes and do it. So meanwhile, Tony and Rhodey are sort of fighting, like Rhodey sort of like maneuvers to the top, and then the chain gun starts going, and so Iron Man's trying to stay away from it and stuff too. And then we see like frantically typing and shooting and typing and shooting and typing. And then Natasha goes through, and then she finally like gets access, and then says like, and then suddenly Rhodey shuts down. Tony flips him over, and then you see the lights go out, and then he's coming in, and so and then we see the screen changes on there too. And then suddenly in the little corner of Ivan's screen, Tony's face pops up.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
And also, what the hell camera is that? Because this is what I was talking about, the impossible angle. I look at this thing and I'm like, where is that camera? Because it seems to me that it should be about 6 to 8 inches above his forehead.
Well, it's super wide screen camera.
But it's a helmet. So, like, any camera he has is going to be within inches of his forehead.
It's super wide angle. It's a super wide angle.
Oh, it's super wide angle. Because, like, when you have a camera that's
he's got to do FaceTime. He's got to do FaceTime calls when he's in the suit.
We don't know that, actually.
Not yet. But yes, but I assume that. That's
assume
okay.
That. But how did she able to get access where Ivan couldn't? And get this really bizarre angle of Tony on there. Now, I get that they want to establish a communication between Natasha and Tony at this point.
Right.
Fine. But, like, it's weird to have the thing on there at an angle we have to see, because it's not the POV we've been seeing for the whole fight scene of, like, the straight on with the thing. It's, it's 45 degrees above.
Okay, so let me retcon this for you.
Okay.
You notice that the image doesn't look like necessarily video. It kind of almost looks like a heat map, right? It's got kind of like that look to it.
Well, it's using a monochrome monitor or...
So, right. Okay, now, here's what I think's happening. Remember we talked about in early parts of this movie, we talked about QR codes and we talked about Tony using his phone to get access to a monitor?
Yeah.
I think she has accessed an ability of the War Machine suit to do a visual heat map of Tony's face. And that's what you're seeing. My God, that's brilliant. That's also garbage.
Wow. No prize for you, man.
No, there's no... That's garbage.
Yeah. We're going to see it for the next couple of minutes, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it plays a role in this, and it is really kind of like, technically, you're like, how is that happening? And I can deal with the idea that there is an ultra-wide-angle camera in his faceplate, because I can see that, but I don't know why it looks like this. I don't know why they have access to it. I don't understand any of that. Okay, I want to point out something during this whole sequence.
Sure.
And by the way, kudos to the environment. This was not a practical set, was it?
It was a partially practical set, but almost but there's no running water or anything. So I think he talked about in the commentary that the foreground stuff you're seeing is right, and then everything from there on is not. So like basically anything beyond the guys essentially is all CG.
Okay, we're coming to something one of the many things I love about this movie. This is such a surreal environment.
Yeah.
Because of the lighting, because of how lush it looks and beautiful, and it's silent. And it's surreal. Like, I don't have a better word for it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love how this looks. Can I tell you one of my favorite parts of this moment is? I don't know if anyone has ever uttered a single word with such emotion than Don Cheadle does when he says Tony.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, we just talked about words that we don't think come from the actress that they're from, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like a throwaway thing. When he says Tony, what's acted in that moment is, dude, I love you and I'm worried that I'm going to hurt you.
You're about to die. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, dude, we may have to make some decisions here that are not great decisions.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do this to you. It is awesome. Like, literally, no kidding. I can't oversell this enough. One word, and you get what he's saying in that word. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's good. So we get Natasha says, reboot complete. And that's where minute 105 comes to an end.
So she's got system access, reboot complete. He's laying on his back. Yep. We cut to all these other great exterior angles in this environment now. So we've been introduced to this crazy new environment. We're getting the lay of the land. We start to see that there are various elevations, which may prove to be important. And yeah, this is it. I cannot wait to see what happens next.
But you're going to have to. Because that's the end of the minute.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we've done a lot of work for you here. We've talked about UN safety things. We've talked about culling the herd. We've made nice with another billionaire. We've sent you off to California to do some tourism. I mean, I think if anything, that would warrant possibly you giving us a review. Huh? What do you say? I mean, we put a lot of work into this episode, and I think it'd be nice if you could clicky-clack your way over to one of your services that provide this podcast to you, and maybe drop us a couple stars. Maybe hey, fellas, nice job.
Let me try.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You do your pitch.
5 stars. Do it now.
Ooh, wow. Rob takes the hard line. I was doing the soft guilt, just like I was brought up, but
oh boy, come on,
yeah,
give us some scratch. Just you're loving this. We hope.
So we're back here for minute 106 because it's a garden party. You're invited, and you're not going to want to miss it. Enough said.
Bye.